So have you ever beaten a game so good, so unforgettable that everything you played after kind of just felt really flat, you know? Some JRPGs don't just tell you a story, they burn it right into your memory. They set the bar so impossibly high with their characters, their worlds, and their gameplay that they just genuinely just truly ruin some other games for you. These are the ones that stick with you for years, the ones that become the new gold standard you judge everything else against. They're more than just games, they're experiences that overall redefine what you thought was even possible. Today, I kind of just want to count down some of my 5 JRPGs that are just absolute masterpieces. Essentially, once you play them, you will find it hard to go play almost anything else just for how good these games are. Starting off with by far one of my favorite Final Fantasy games out there, game that I'm really hoping gets a remake. It's Final Fantasy IX. This game, to kick off our list, is both a warm, nostalgic hug and just overall a timeless classic. Final Fantasy IX dropping at the very end of the PlayStation 1's life. This game was a deliberate return to the series' high fantasy roots, the big shift from the sci-fi settings of the games that came before it, and in doing so, it created a world so charming and full of heart, it just sets an almost unfair standard for fantasy storytelling. Like I said, Final Fantasy IX is one of my favorite Final Fantasy games that are out there. I really love 7, I loved 8, 6 was great, but 9 just sets that bar for me up there and will continue being. I even made a video just discussing, like, hopefully Square Enix makes Final Fantasy 9 as its next remake. It does not need to be on a similar quality of Final Fantasy 7 remake. It's 3-part trilogy. We just need something because, God, this game is amazing. Because on the surface, Final Fantasy 9 is a classic adventure about a charming thief, a princess on the run, and a clumsy knight trying to stop a war. But it's just the way the story is told that just makes it legendary, man. The world of Gaia is just vibrant. It feels so alive, filled with a whole cast of just different people, from stoic black mages to the always hungry Q clan. It's this diversity that makes this world feel real, but the game's true soul is in its characters. Every single one of them, every single one of the party members is on a personal journey dealing with big questions about who they are, what their purpose is, and where they belong. And that's one thing I like about JRPGs, like, they really question you as an actual player, and sometimes it becomes a little bit relatable. The game explores this through basically this criminally underused feature. I have not seen it used too much, but it is the active time event system, or the ATE system. This basically lets you peek into what other characters are doing elsewhere in the world, and it's a brilliant way to develop the cast not just as party members, but as people with their very own lives. You get these quiet moments like watching Vivi, the shy black mage, grapple with his own mortality, or you get to see Princess Garnet, who's been sheltered her whole life, learn about the world in ways that are sometimes funny and always sweet. But this system makes their personal growth feel earned and incredibly emotional, because after you see how perfectly Final Fantasy IX weaves its character stories together, other games can feel clunky by comparison. It will spoil other fantasy worlds for you because so few feel this genuine the same way Final Fantasy IX is. Today, I am still hoping for a remake. I want Square Enix to at least remake 9, and there's a lot of great Final Fantasy games, but I feel like to me, 9 was just amazing, and it will always be high on my list for one of my favorite JRPGs, as well as one of my favorite Final Fantasies out there.
It's been so long since I could.
But I need to move to something a little bit more recent. I need to move a little bit more modern because, my God, something that's paying homage to JRPGs of the past and outright knocking it out the park. We have the heartbreakingly beautiful world, the innovative battle system that will honestly ruin other turn-based RPGs for you. I want everybody to say hello to, in my opinion, the game of the year for 2025, Clair, Obscur, Expedition 33. Now, yes, of course, this is going to be on the list because my God, this game set standards. And as the year is finally crunching down, I need everybody to understand that this just might be game of the year. This game blends a stunning, surreal art style with a combat system so immersive and engaging, and it makes traditional turn-based titles feel passive by comparison. It feels like they then took everything that what made JRPGs great and just put it into a game, especially when it comes to the turn-based system. It's very similar to like Legend of Dragoon. The character development and the entire stories feel like something just ripped out of most Final Fantasy 9s or Chrono Cross or Legends of Legaia. Just that overall sense of adventure and just understanding these characters. But Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is set in a world cursed by a being known as the Paintress. Once a year, she awakens to paint a number on a giant monolith, and every person of that age instantly just turns into these rose petals and vanishes. For decades, that number has ticked down, and now she is about to paint 33. You follow Gustav and the rest of his Expedition 33 crew, a group of volunteers on a 1-year do or die mission to destroy the Paintress before she erases them from existence. It's overall a tragic, desperate premise set in such a beautiful, gorgeous world inspired by Belle Epoque France, full of surreal beauty and dark fantasy undertones. The blend of beauty and dread is backed by a groundbreaking evolution of JRPG combat. While it's turn-based at its core, it's overall layered with real-time actions that demand your constant attention. You cannot put your controller down when you are in these fights. You can't just select an attack and watch. You have to actively dodge, parry, counter, and there's multiple variations of that counter. This reactive system, which includes a free aim mechanic for targeting enemy weak points, turns every battle into a high-stakes dance of timing and overall strategy. Each character also has complete unique mechanics, from a mage who uses elemental stains to be able to power up her spells, to a warrior who builds overcharge to unleash devastating attacks. This ensures that every party member feels overall distinct, and every turn is a puzzle of how you want to complete this, and just the overall ways to overall overpower your characters as you level up and go through and through of it. I do have a review on the channel. I don't want to talk too much in here because I don't want to spoil it. But if you want a review, I'll leave it in a card below. But Clair Obscur Expedition 33 raises the bar for artistic vision and gameplay innovation, creating an experience so dynamic that other RPGs will feel static in its own shadow. And you want to know what's even crazier? What's even crazier about Expedition 33? This game was developed by 33 Ubisoft employees. I'm gonna say that again. This game was built by 33 employees. This is an indie game by Sandfall Interactive, and they have shown the industry in itself that, hey, you do not need to drop $90 on a game to have something be good. But without all the glazing of Clair Obscur Expedition 33, like I said, this is definitely my game of the year for 2025. We need to move on to something that's a little bit more crazier, I would say. So at number 3, I have a game that is not just a game. It's a philosophical haymaker that will take apart everything you thought you knew about video game stories. That game is Nier Automata. This is the one that will ruin other stories for you, not because they're bad, but because they're painfully simple after the narrative maze that Yoko Taro has built us in Nier Automata. At first, Nier Automata seems like a pretty straightforward action RPG. You play as 2B, an android soldier fighting for the last of humanity against an army of machines on a ruined Earth. The combat made by the action masters at Platinum Games is a beautiful ballet of slick combos and bullet hell chaos. It feels incredible. The combat is just as good as is just a hook in itself. The delivery system for one of the most soul-crushing and brilliant stories ever told. The game's genius is its overall core structure. To get the full story, you have to play through it more than once. You know, the first ending is just the appetizer. The next ending, you have to replay the first half from another character's perspective, which completely reframes everything you thought you knew. And then the third playthrough blows the story completely wide open, continuing past that first ending into devastating new territory, leading to like the actual real endings of this game. The game uses this structure to explore some seriously deep ideas, what it means to be conscious, finding purpose in a world without one, and the lines that blur between human and machine. You'll watch robots, these not so sentient beings, grapple with ideas of family and love, becoming more human than you think, forcing you to just question everything. But then the story starts to slowly trickle, carefully shattering the expectations, building to another great, powerful ending, which has one of the most unforgettable moments in gaming history. Asks for a real sacrifice from you, the player, to give its characters a sliver of hope. After Nier Automata, you'll look for a kind of depth in stories that most games wouldn't even dare to attempt because they like to play it safe. And Yoko Taro did not, and they gave us one of the best games that you could have, storyline wise, gameplay wise. It's great. But moving on over to another great storyline, great game that just overall just has a lot of drip. A game with the gameplay loop so polished and perfect that they are still milking the game to this day. And it's dangerously addictive. It's Persona 5 Royale. This is the game that will ruin other turn-based RPGs for you because nothing else balances its complex systems with this much confidence and artistic flair. Persona 5 casts you as a high school student in modern day Tokyo who's living essentially a double life. By day, you're going to class, making friends, working part-time jobs, and then by night, you're the leader of the Phantom Thieves, a crew of outcasts who dive into a metaphysical world called the Metaverse to literally steal the twisted desires from the hearts of corrupted adults. The game is a brilliant mix of a deep turn-based JRPG and is also a life simulator, and the magic is in how the two halves try to feed each other. Because overall, you spend a lot of your time just living your life, building relationships called confidants with your teammates and other people around Tokyo. Hanging out with them doesn't just give you well-written character stories, it gives you powerful new abilities for combat, right? You get to rank up your friendships with a party member. They might jump in to save you from, from different attacks. Befriend a local doctor, you'll get better healing items. It creates this amazing loop where everything you do just feels productive and rewarding. After this, side characters and other RPGs can feel so bland and disconnected. Then there's the combat. Yes, it is turn-based, but it's fast, it's aggressive, and it is incredibly engaging. By hitting an enemy's weakness, you can knock them down, get a free turn, knock all of them down, you get the unleash a flashy all-out attack. This, plus mechanics like the Baton Pass that lets you chain turns between your team, makes every battle just a strategic puzzle, and it's all wrapped in this quite stunning presentation. The menus are art, the character designs are iconic, and the acid jazz soundtrack is an all-timer. Persona 5 is just a masterclass in design where every single part works together to create something so slick and addictive. It sets a new standard for the genre. Like I said, Persona 5 is overall being milked into the ground. This game cannot catch a break ever since its release. There's all that has seemed like, I think for most people, being one of the best Persona games that are out there. Me personally, I still really enjoy Persona 3. Persona 4 is good. We have a potential remake on the way, but Persona 5 is basically the best that Atlus has given us for the Persona series. And here we are. The last game, and honestly, for a lot of you who might have guessed it, but that game for many people is what we'll say absolute peak of the JRPG genre. A game so perfectly designed and paced that it's still a benchmark for excellence decades later. And that number one JRPG that will rule their other games for you is, of course, Chrono Trigger, another game that I wish could get a remake. Because released way back in 1995 for the Super Nintendo, Chrono Trigger was made by a dream team of developers, and boy, oh boy, does it show. Because this game is a lightning in a bottle, and it's hard to redo that again. The story is a grand adventure across time itself. You start as a kid named Chrono, who thanks to science fair mishap gets thrown through different eras of time, from the age of dinosaurs to a ruined future. What makes the story so amazing is the agency it gives you. Things you can do in the past can have real, visible effects on the future. The game has over dozens of endings depending on your choices and when you decide to face the final boss. This kind of non-linear storytelling was revolutionary, and it's still done better here than in most modern games. The gameplay was just as forward-thinking. Chrono Trigger got rid of random encounters. You see enemies on a map, fights start instantly, which keeps the pacing incredibly fast. It also introduced text where characters could combine their skills for a powerful, basically there's your spells in the game, your different abilities, and allowing this to basically push you to experiment with your party. On top of that, it respects your time. The difficulty is so well tuned that for most players, there's almost no need for grinding. As long as you fight the enemies you come across, you'll honestly be ready for the next challenge. Every piece of Chrono Trigger is a masterpiece. And of course, and our rest in peace, our GOAT, Akira Toriyama, his character designs are so unforgettable. The soundtrack by Yasunori Mitsuda is one of the most beloved in video game history, but its real legacy is just its perfect execution. There is not a single wasted moment, not an ounce of fat. It is a tight, endlessly replayable adventure that is just pure, unfiltered joy, honestly. Chrono Trigger will ruin other games for you because it's the definition of JRPG perfection. It's a monument to what happens when creators at the absolute top of their game come together to make a legend. And that right there are my 5 JRPGs that will ruin other games for you. They're so exceptional that it will just change what you expect from a JRPG. These are titans of the genre, and honestly, if you're a fan, you owe it to yourself to play every one of them. And once you do, gaming will never look quite the same. But hey, like I said, this is just my list. This is just my opinion. Because the beauty of JRPGs is that there are so many incredible life-changing games out there. So I want to hear from you. What's the one JRPG that completely ruined other games for you? Let me know in the comment section below, because I'll definitely be reading them all, and I'm always looking for something new to get lost in. And if you want to talk more about it, I do have my Discord in the link below. You can check it out there, because if you enjoyed this look at some of the best that the JRPG genre has to offer, then consider liking, subscribing for more content like this. It really does help the channel out. And as always, Outcast, I want you to stay safe out there, because it's been your host, Chaos DTV, signing out. Peace.